Well, good morning, CSL Parker. And also, good morning and welcome to our global family who are tuning in to join us today. I'm Dr. Nadine Rogers, and I'm always grateful to share the principles of living a spiritual life with you. The Centers for Spiritual Living teaching theme for May is Holy, Holy Uprising. That's spelled WHOLLY, HOLY, comma. This is where we get to explore the realization of our true soul capacity through clarity, strength, and courage in support of giving ourselves wholly into life, which has the potential to cause quite the stir. Here at CSL Parker, we learn how to apply practical spirituality in our everyday life based on the teachings of Dr. Ernest Holmes in his work called The Science of Mind and Spirit. He summarizes his teachings as a correlation of the laws of science, opinions of philosophy, and revelations of world religions applied to human needs and the aspirations of man. Now, I'm sure you've heard and probably believe that you live in a spiritual universe, and therefore we are all spiritual beings having this spiritual experience as humans, and that everything we think we need is always right where we are. We learn to be a student with humility and awe in this vast power for good that is within us and within the world. And we come to understand that as we walk each other home, we teach by how we live, and that how we live becomes our prayer. The Center for Spiritual Living honors all faith traditions. So we're going to begin our time together by lighting the candle. This is the Unity Candle, and we honor all faiths through Spirit as the light that radiates as one life, one love, one in grace, harmony, and peace forevermore. Fundamental to this truth is the unifying nature of all these diverse faiths and thoughts and experiences, which we will honor here today as we share our message. I find that acknowledging both my multiplicity and my unity gives me a greater sense of inner peace. So, knowing that the truth of all life is sourced and present within each one of us, we know you are blessed right here and now. So just sit back and relax and enjoy your time with us, beginning with what's happening at CSL Parker.
Good morning, CSL Parker. Thank you for joining us online this morning. As a reminder, next Sunday, May 23rd, our service will be in person at Cimarron Middle School. Hope to see you there. But first, this Monday, May 17th, please join us via Zoom from 7 to 8 p.m. for a congregational meeting. The results of the co-creation process in the form of a covenant will be presented to the congregation. This is not to be missed. Next Sunday, after the service, from 12 to 2 p.m. via Zoom, join Dr. Nadine for her class, Dancing with Difficult People. Learn to create a mental and emotional equivalent to build gratitude and value in your relationships. Learn to identify personal motivation, intention, and attachment to outcome. Depersonalize the other's story by detaching from your triggers. And support others in breaking the trance. This wonderful workshop is being offered for an investment of $45. You can sign up via the eBlast or on the CSL Parker website. Finally, on Thursday, May 27th at 7 p.m., please join us via Zoom for the Town Hall meeting, Co-Creation Review, Co-Creation Anew. We will have completed our co-creation process and covenant to draw forth our new minister. What are some of the lessons that have come from this? How has the process adjusted our collective perspective? Going forward, are there elements that can be personalized for our own use? Join us in this time of connection as we celebrate our new covenant and share in the joy of knowing our new minister is en route. That's all for this morning. Don't forget to join us after the service for the after chat via Zoom. The passcode and link are found in your eBlast. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy this time of music and meditation.
1, 2, 3, go. If love is why I'm here, let me be an open channel. If love is why I'm here, let me give and then receive. If love is why I'm here, let me be an open channel. If love is why I'm here, let me give and then receive.
Take a moment and get comfortable. Feel your spine start to straighten and your head slightly tilted down. Now gently close your eyes and sense your surroundings. Take a deep breath in and be here now, to the place deep down where spirit glows. It radiates. Feel the warmth. Be here now, in this moment. In every breath. There are no stressors. There is no sense of time. Only the breath, and only the love and the spirit that is deep down. And with every breath, you feel it beating stronger and getting stronger. Love breathes us. Love moves us. Love allows creation to unfold, for we are love and can be nothing less. Like the river that flows and the flower that blooms in the spring, we too have our creative growth to be and to share. Breathe with me and know all is well today and every day, as the one source, which is love, is good and very good. Breathe. For we are living in our heaven in this moment. Being in the moment of love. Being ready to hear the message today with an open heart and a loving heart. To hear Dr. Yvonne share with us. Share with us about spirit and of spirit. For there is only spirit, which is love.
One, two, three, four. Where there is love, there is a peace. In the cages of God, beating heart.
Well, good morning, CSL Parker. It is so good to be with you today as we celebrate creation and the promise of life unfolding, the birthing of new ways of thinking and being, in gratitude for that which nurtures life within us, that within which knows and ignites our instinct to naturally care for the two-leggeds, the four-leggeds, the winged, the fin, the fruits of the earth, and the spirit in all. All of life born in and as love, always growing our expression and experience of love through conditional and unconditional experiences, returning us home to pure potentiality, love. It's the creative impulse of the universe. It's energy everywhere, present and available to be nourished in by means of our conscious acts of giving and receiving. So today we continue the exploration of Holy, Holy Uprising, an idea whose time has come, an idea whose time keeps coming, as we continue to awaken to, step into, and step up as the magnificence of our spiritual human expression. So I'd like to begin today by sharing with you from the introduction of his book, Creative Mind, Dr. Ernest Holmes' idea that speaks to this. He says, the hand of eternal progress is brushing the cobwebs from the corridors of time and is again revealing to the human race the mysteries of being. As there is nothing new under the sun, the searchlight of truth is bringing to light only what has been known to the few in all generations. The time has now come when the few must become the many. The whole world, from the least to the greatest, must know the truth, so that man may understand the great laws that govern his life. He must learn to control his own destiny, to heal his own body, and bring happiness to his own soul. Ignorance must vanish, and understanding must be ushered in. Humankind is no longer to be governed by anything outside itself. Creeds, doctrines, churches, institutions, organizations, governments are all being changed to give place to the realization of the individual. There is a power in and through all that is working this great transformation. All that will not measure up to the standard must fall by its own weight. And that is in line with the truth that all must prosper. The time is at hand. We are in the greatest age of all history. We are in the age of the unifying of all people and all things into the ever-present one. The temple, not made with hands, is now being silently built by the emancipated souls of this planet. Dr. Holmes. So today we contemplate surrendering to the God mad. Now, what is that, do you think? Kind of a strange title, perhaps, but I see the God mad is the passion that when felt awakens my senses, my imagination, my courage to be and do what it asks for us to give voice to, and therefore experience those qualities of God: joy, love, peace, bliss. I see passion as the awakening, driving creative force of God at the precise moment when I am being called into something more. Passion, at times, when associated to intimate love with another, can send us into a single focus that seems to unplug us from patterns, former lifestyles, values, and even disconnect us, for a time being anyway, from those in our inner circle. We feel swept up, out of control, in some kind of vortex without time and space, an unbound but delicious experience nevertheless. Think for a moment how this feels, or how it felt. And now think how it would feel without the presence of the other, but rather enraptured in the pure, unconditional expression of one's own passion, before those thoughts and perceptions overshadow or water down your experience. To lay down those thoughts, to lean into the field of pure potentiality, to act as an unlimited, free, and honoring expression of the sacred, and to accept all as whole, perfect unfoldment of the Holy, Holy One, is surrendering to the God mad for me. Similar to the feelings experienced of intimate passion and loving exchange with another is the experience of allowing divine wisdom to inform us and guide us into a life of passionate intimacy, inquiry, wherever we are, and urge us forward into passionate pursuits in our moment-to-moment choices, not just in our goals. All right, sure, you might be saying, great thought, but who can stay in the God-mad frenzy of passion all the time? It would be a great feeling, but cause a lot of fallout, chaos, and unproductivity in one's life, and certainly in the lives of those affected by our choices. Well, that's one way of looking at it. Might there be another? And then you might say, well, life is the ebb and flow. You know, it's good days and bad days. It takes a lot to just manage life, to see the gift in it all, to manage what comes to us, what is out of our control. Now you were suggesting life could be different. Well, do you think life could be different? Perhaps it is the word surrender that creates resistance, a sense of fear. So what is spiritual surrender? Well, to me, it's letting go of my effortful attempts at controlling my life and catching the current of love. Dr. Holmes continues to speak to this ineffable, all-loving intelligence and its completeness and wholeness through its act of self-givingness. He says, the Spirit makes all things out of itself. Everything comes into being without effort. And when we exert ourselves, we are not in accord with the creative spirit in the way in which it works. The impulse of spirit to move must be caused by a desire to express what it feels itself to be: beauty, form, color, life, love, and power. All things else we find in the manifest universe are attributes of the Spirit and are caused to spring into being through the Word, because the Spirit wants to enjoy itself. So where does this leave us as one with this unfathomable idea? It leaves us with our innate desire and ability to create the reality of our desire, understanding that our needs are steps to passionate living and spiritual maturity. The great psychologist Abraham Maslow identified 5 basic human needs that every person experiences in varying degrees. The first 4 are physical, safety, social, and self-esteem needs. But at the top of the ladder, he lists what he calls self-actualization needs. We can call it spiritual needs, where mind, body, and spirit function in harmony. This is the need we all have, to develop our potential to its maximum, to be all that we can be and are born to be. No matter how much we accomplish, there is still the divine urge to reach higher, to do what we have never done before, to embark on a whole new endeavor in life. And this feeling is a combination of exhilaration and fear. So why do people take such risks? Because of their need for self-actualization. This is a spiritual need, which means it emanates from the mind and heart of the universe. Ernest Holmes called it the creative divine urge within us. He also said that if we gave in to this divine urge and allowed ourselves to be more completely expressed, we would never be unhealthy or unhappy in mind, body, or spirit. here he says is a major key to the healing of all our mental and physical problems. Now, when last I spoke with you, I spoke about rebel for a cause. Now, the cause not being outside of us, like racial or gender equality, clean air, or human rights, but allowing our rebel spirit and our brave heart to stand still in the cause back of all life, to fight our socialized ego mind and give power to and live from the guidance of spiritual intelligence from within, which in turn is God expressing and experiencing itself in a relative personal way through and as us. So continuing on that idea of don't just do something, stand there, being a gateway into the surrendering to the God mad, the rise of our passion for life and living. We remember that the passion found through intimate connection with pure potentiality comes from hearing spirit. Hearing spirit, finding the voice of the beloved within us rather than seeking it. If there is something to seek, we are worldly people. If there is nothing to seek, and the question becomes, who is the seeker? Then we become spiritually directed people. Now, someone who knew this very well was the mystic poet Rumi. He was an ecstatic dancer. He was one of the great lovers of life. And this love of life pervaded every line he wrote, every poem he made, every one of his actions. He was also a man of profound insight into the nature of man. Sufi psychology views the human being as embodied spirit or soul, whose essential nature is love, wisdom, and joy. We are separated from and forgetful of our essential nature because of the inevitable development of our ego self. Self-actualization, then, is the art of successful rebirth through which the ego self is transmuted in various inward stages, culminating in its annihilation into the soul, and ultimately reunion with the divine. Rumi speaks to the essence and feeling of this idea through this quote. My place is the placeless, my trace is the traceless. 'Tis neither body nor soul, for I belong to the soul of the beloved. I have put duality away. I have seen that the two worlds are one. One I seek, one I know, one I see, one I call. When all searching is stopped and we become aware that now there is only one thing to know, who is the seeker in me? What is the energy that wants to seek? Who am I really? Then there's a transformation. All values change very suddenly. You know, the move towards the inner happens and the darkness begins. Excuse me. And in the beginning, it is very, very dark. For our eyes have been focused on the outside world. Let me give you an example. You know how sometimes when we come in from the outdoors, especially on a bright sunny day, it's hard to focus when we enter a darker room. Now, when there is much light, our pupils shrink, as you know, and in the darkness, the pupils have to relax. A bigger aperture is needed in the darkness. In light, a smaller aperture is enough. So when you suddenly come in from the outside, your own house looks dark. But if you sit a while, by and by, the darkness disappears and there is more light. We just need to learn to readjust our eyes. Meditation, prayer are ways to readjust our vision and clean our house so that intimacy, communion becomes a way of passionate living instead of something someone else has. So here's a few things that I do remember having gone through myself in order to deepen or expand or allow to be the communion with God at all times. The first was I stop listening to anybody and stop taking their word as my gospel. The only word that is gospel is our inner voice, our intuition that is God speaking. Then taking off masks and being true to how we feel. I mean, how many of us have held our anger, our disappointment, our pain in and dressed it up with a smile or a spiritual attitude? Have you noticed that when it comes time to really smile, that often you can't? Our mechanisms become topsy-turvy because when we wanted to be angry, we weren't. Now, when we want to love, suddenly we find that the mechanism doesn't function that well. And then the one that we know only too well, always remain in the present, for the falseness enters only through the doors of the past or the future. All that is past has passed. All that has not yet come has not yet come. And lastly, to remember that to be true to oneself, the truth isn't something necessarily logical. It means not imposing anything that you are not, just being that which you are at whatever the risk may be. Caring for your image means nurturing the path of separation from yourself, from God, and it feeds the search. We can bring about a life of peace and pleasure if we live our own lives, but not if we seek to live another's. We must rise up to our own intelligence by not seeking ready-made answers, but living in the inquiry, pushed and pulled by our longing to know through experience. If we seek outside in the light of others' ways, we destroy trust in our own natural instincts and discernment. Some children are forced to eat before they are hungry, the food forced into their being and their bellies. And without hunger, this forced food cannot be digested. There is no hunger to digest it. We think we are hungry for the answer from the outside, and when we get it, we don't digest it because it is not compatible with the inside. Inside each of us, at the center of our lives, there is a tension, an ache, an insatiable fire that cannot be quieted or quelled. We are always longing, as is illustrated by an excerpt from a journal of a 13-year-old girl that I'd like to share with you. She writes, "Today, the sun is shining. The sky is a deep blue. There's a lovely breeze, and I am longing, so longing for everything, to talk, for freedom, for friends, to be alone. And I do so long to cry. I feel as if I'm going to burst, and I know that it would get better with crying, but I can't. I'm restless. I go from room to room, breathe through the crack of a closed window, feel my heart beating as if it is saying, 'Can't you satisfy my longing at last?' I believe that spring is within me. Feel that spring is awakening. I feel it in my whole body and soul. It is an effort to behave normally. I feel utterly confused. I don't know what to read, what to write, what to do. I only know that I am longing." That passage was written by Anne Frank, captive. Sometimes we long for love. At other times, it could be a longing to attain something, often though it is a longing with no clear focus and no clear name. Like Anne Frank, we only know that we are longing, feeling restless, full of disquiet. What is it within the human spirit that makes us so full of wanderlust, so unsatisfied and full of unrest? Shakespeare talked of immortal longings. Karl Rahner speaks about the torment of the insufficiency of everything attainable. St. Augustine once prayed, You have made us for yourself, Lord, and our hearts are restless until they rest in you. Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed. And it is said that he often ran them through his fingers as he traversed the countryside, speaking of the great trees that grow from the tiniest of seeds. He would explain that the kingdom of heaven also grows from the tiniest of beginnings, implying the way in which God works by growing them. We often think that the great figures from scripture or history are holy and possess a deep spirituality, but in a sense, we are incorrect on both counts. For it would be more correct to say that they became holy and entered into a deep spirituality. Holiness and spirituality are not ready-made and complete states of being in our experiences. As we choose to consciously grow into the sense of belonging in our own skin, we achieve a spirituality. This image of a tiny mustard seed that grows into a great tree gives us the space to not look for drastic or impressive changes in our lives, to know our spiritual nature. It gives us the guidance and faith that in our choosing to offer up right now who we are and what we do in life for the highest and best of all, that we are on the path of becoming holy and living an ever deepening spiritual existence. Our individuality, our true sense of self, grows to the degree that we are able to hold fast to what we know to be true for ourselves, even when others are crying out for us to follow more well-trodden paths. The most durable form of integrity requires more than naming our deepest feelings and standing by them. It requires falling headlong into the desire that lies in our heart of hearts. Whatever name we give it, I call it the God man. If we can melt into that fire, our days will be shot through with a fierce passion of living, no matter how small or mundane our outer activities may seem. The love of the inner flame of our own existence, of life, of God, of another, begs us to give ourselves utterly, to fall without reserve toward the object of our love. Love asks us to offer up our heart for breaking open. A bird must always leave the nest of outer belonging, as we must live through our hearts breaking open to find our truest nature in flight. In human life, all symphonies must remain unfinished, or life could not continue its expansion and evolutionary process. In human life, it is the surrendering to the God mad that allows us to hear the symphonies calling us forward through our next feeling of primordial longing into a passionate existence. Here, all is provided for, and no thing is missing. This is what we were birthed to experience. The fruits from standing still on the path of self-actualization in a field of pure potentiality. Like a bird that must leave the nest of outer belonging, we must stand still to find our truest nature in flight. And on it goes. And so it is. Amen. I invite you into a personal investment called Sacred and Faithful Giving, knowing that there is an infinite flow of prosperity and abundance that is operating in and through us at all times, no matter our present circumstances. We can open to expand our consciousness of acceptance by giving with a grateful heart. And when our souls are fed in this way by the practice of giving, we can be certain that our gift blesses both the giver and the receiver many, many times over. And so we receive and appreciate your gifts and your tithes. And we thank you so much for supporting us to remain a vital and thriving center in which all of us can find our spiritual nourishment. So for your convenience, we do provide you with various ways in which to make your donation. You may donate on our website, www.cslparker.org/donate, or via Zelle, or if you are more comfortable mailing in a check, please do so to this office location on your screen. I invite you now to affirm your prosperity through the power of your own word by saying this together with me. I attract all good things into being. The power of my faith enhances my experience of health, relationship, finance, fulfillment, passion, purpose, and joy. The creative source in my life is in a constant state of perfection, freely giving itself as my bounty. And so it is. We're so glad you're connecting with us today, because together we raise the vibrational energy of love and send it out globally to help create a world that works for everyone. And now, please enjoy our offering song.
2, 3, go. I'm choosing heaven today. I'm choosing heaven today. I am walking a road of heaven right now, singing, I'm choosing heaven today. Sing it again. I'm choosing heaven today. I'm choosing heaven today. I am walking a road of heaven right now, singing, I'm choosing heaven today. Choosing peace. I'm choosing peace today. I'm choosing peace today. I am walking a road of heaven right now, singing, I'm choosing peace today. I'm choosing love. I'm choosing love today. I'm choosing love today. I am walking a road of heaven right now, singing, I'm choosing love today. Choosing heaven. I'm choosing heaven today. I'm choosing heaven today. I am walking a road of heaven right now, singing, I'm choosing heaven today. Yes, I'm walking a road of heaven right now, singing, I'm choosing heaven today.
Let us join together in prayer. Oh my, we've been blessed by everyone's presence here today and the presence of all those who came together this morning from far and wide. All is well here. You know, as we continue to shift and change and welcome through welcoming our own curiosity and our courage to ask the deeper questions, we remember to take that gentle pause and see where we might feel disillusionment that lies within us. And it is in this moment that we can more lovingly embrace our humanity, our sacred humanity, our divine humanity, and the divinity in all living things. It is in this moment that we breathe deeply in gratitude for the life we have been given, and for the knowledge that spirit is present, accessible, and moving within the life of all humanity in perfect right action, guiding us and it in ways to unconditionally nourish and support ourselves, because we are the gift of God. And in this, we leave no stone unturned. We affirm our capacity to live with unparalleled faith in the divine creative process, which unfolds in our lives right now, and joyfully give the fullness of ourselves to whatever and whenever without measure. Isn't this wonderful? We take each breath and make it an opportunity to affirm the presence of the Most High, expressing and experiencing itself right where we are. Oh, life is such a blessing. Thank you, Spirit. We are a blessing. It is a blessing, all of it. And so it is. Amen.
If you love somebody, better tell them why they're here, 'cause they just may run away from you. You'll never know quite when, well, then again it just depends on how long the time is left for you. I've had the highest mountains, I've had the deepest river. You can have it all, but life keeps moving. I'll take it in, but don't look down. 'Cause I'm on top of the world, eh? I'm on top of the world, eh? Been waiting on this for a while now, paying my dues to the dirt. I've been waiting to smile, eh? Been holding it in for a while, eh? Take you with me if I can. Been dreaming of this since a child. I'm on top of the world. I've tried to cut these corners, tried to take the easy way out. I kept on falling short of something. I could've gave up then, but then again I couldn't have, 'cause I've traveled all this way for something. I take it in, but don't look down. 'Cause I'm on top of the world.